So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Kyle Harris, who's founder and CEO at RYDE Studios. So, Kyle, thanks for coming on board and spending some time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, RYDE, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Afternoon, Chris, and thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this after you guys reached out. It's something I'm really excited about and appreciate you doing this for the local businesses and
Thank
companies
you.
in the Leeds area. So thank you. But yeah, Kyle Harris. So I am a local boy. I'm from Harrogate originally. Joined the army when I was 16, served for 10 years, did some tours of Afghanistan. And I got to that point in my career where you get to sergeant and you're either going to stay in and do a life long in the military or sort of step out and take the skills that you've learned from the military and take them into the civilian world. And the military was something I was always going to do. My dad, his dad, his dad, his dad had served in the military in one
Wow.
form or another. So it's something I was really excited about. But yeah, did 10 years. And once I left, I decided to continue in the path that I was very that I knew. So I've always been into training. So played rugby for Harrogate and for Yorkshire, played rugby in the army, and I was actually a personal training instructor in the army. So in the kind of training PT world.
Yep.
And I left the army. I went straight to London. So I moved to London on the Friday I left the army. On the Monday I started work. And I was a personal trainer in a very nice kind of top end PT studio in Canary Wharf, which was very eye-opening after spending 10 years in the army and then leaving to go be in the middle of Canary Wharf. But it was actually a really eye-opening experience for me to the abundance of wealth and the world that is out there for people if you go throw yourself in and
Yep.
do something with your life. And Canary Wharf was amazing. I loved it. We worked in a small little PT studio, and it was the kind of who's who of Canary Wharf. You had to be invited, MD and above, at like the top five banks. And some of the people I met were unbelievable. Bob Diamond was a customer, all these kind of high flying bankers, and some
Yep.
great, amazing people to listen to their stories, to be around them. And I think that was a big part of my growth. And you hear it all the time. If you show me your six best friends or the five people you hang around with,
Yes.
I'll show you your future. And my life changed from being immersed in that life. Whilst I was in London, I was working in the gym. I saw a big change in the fitness industry.
Yep.
Large scale gyms were closing down. Gyms with basketball courts and swimming pools
Yes.
where their rents were
Yeah.
crazy high, especially in London. They were closing down, and what was happening was small boutique style fitness studios were opening up on the street corners of London,
Yep.
and they were replicating the kind of growth of the boutique fitness world in kind of America, which is what happens in most of the world sometimes. Somebody comes up with an idea in West America, West Coast, East Coast, put a bit of money into it, and then it blows up around the world. And the same happened in the fitness world. Barry's
Yep.
Boot Camp, Soul Cycle, all these amazing studios opened. And they were opening in London, and they became really popular and very busy. And this was, a long time kind of pre-COVID. And what I saw at Canary Wharf was that a lot of young guys had stopped going out to the bars as much. So when I first got to Canary Wharf in 2013, 14, on a Thursday, Friday night, you couldn't move,
Right.
from the bar out until the fencing towards the river, you was jam-packed with
Right.
workers and bankers and taking people out and their customers. But I actually sort of see a change where younger guys, especially kind of European guys, Swedish guys, Norwegian guys, and German guys who were coming over working in the bands, started taking their clients to these boutique fitness studios. And they were going in to
Oh.
high-end studios, doing the classes, and then grabbing like a healthy shake.
Yeah.
Not saying they weren't all out there drinking beers on a Thursday night, but I saw a change and it started to
Yeah.
happen. So it sort of changed habits that I saw, but then I also sort of saw these studios become so busy. And people were sort of cancelling their gym memberships to go to these boutique studios. And I'd been in London long enough, and it's that kind of earn more, spend more, you keep up with the Joneses. And I was a well-paid personal trainer trying to keep up with a well-paid Canary Wharf banker. and I ended up spending a lot more money than I was earning. So I
Yeah,
sort of took a step back and said, right, if I if I don't do something with this money, my London time in London will be wasted.
yeah,
So I took 2 years, saved all my money, and decided to open up my own business. So my first kind of venture into the business world was to come back to Leeds. I didn't want to try and compete inside the London market. At the time, there were some big multi-million pound businesses that were really dominating sort of the fitness world.
yes,
So I came back to Leeds and I opened up my first business, which was called L1 Performance, which was a large scale gym, personal training studio. We had physio, we ran classes as well. And
right,
we were on Wellington Place. We were in
yes,
number 6 Wellington Place
yep,
for 5 years. And we were the first kind of boutique studio that offered pay-as-you-go
right,
um, way of paying for the classes. So
yep,
typically in a gym environment, what you want is you run a gym on members. You hope that 80% of the customers don't come and they continue to pay their membership. That is a
yep,
typical gym membership. Whereas the boutique world actually offers a high level of classes where we want people to attend and we charge a bit more, but we charge per class. So they pick the
yep,
class, pay for the credit, and they attend that class.
makes sense.
L1 was the first pay-as-you-go kind of studio in Leeds in the fitness world, which one was good to be first to market because you had this excitement of what it is. It's come from London, it's
Yep,
sparkly, it's new. But also coming to Leeds, our competition was mainstream gyms who were charging 12, 13, 14 pound a month for membership. We were charging that for a class. So it was
yep,
quite hard to get standard
yep,
value across to our customers. They took a long time. Once they got through the door, they could see, oh wow, like the trainers are better, the service is better, the facilities are better. I understand why I pay a little bit
yes,
more. So our marketing was word of mouth to get people through the door. So we would show people what it was. But we ran L1 Performance for 5 years and it was a huge success. It was the steepest learning curve I've ever had in my life, going from the army to personal training. So
yeah,
I read a lot of Robert Kiyosaki
yep,
books. I really like his kind of mental approach and his self-development and mindset into business. And I think he's
yep,
a great leader. And he talks a lot about the cash flow quadrant. So I've
yep,
sort of been on the journey from the employed in the army to the self-employed being the personal trainer
yep,
and moving across the right-hand side of the quadrant where we all want to be. The learning curve is like this and it smacks you in the face 100 times a day.
yep,
And I made some big mistakes. It cost us a lot of money, but each time we made these mistakes, we were able to learn. But yeah, L1 as a whole was a big success. We had a great team of about 25 instructors and about five full-time staff. So we were about 30 people working out of it,
wow,
and it became the place, the go-to place in Leeds. We had some great clients, Squires, Pat and Boggs, who were on the estate, Sky Bet and Gaming, who were on the estate.
yep,
And then people started to travel to us, and it became really busy. Inside L1, we had a space upstairs, which was the spin studio. And I always kept it separate because I knew that the boutique world was growing at a pace in London that if RYDE, we call it RYDE, if
right,
that was big enough and bold enough, we could take it out, leave
yeah,
L1 as the gym and go and do something with RYDE.
yes,
And towards the kind of closure of, oh, sorry, the start of COVID, our ride classes became busier than the rest of the gym. So
right,
the whole gym, personal training, all of our classes, ride was busier. We used to have 30 bikes in the spin studio, and at one point we had 30 people booked on and 60 people on the waiting list. 5 o'clock,
wow,
6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it became a
wow,
real buzz, a massive energy. It was really exciting. And then COVID happened. And like it hit many people, it hit us extremely hard. And I always remember it, and I've told the story a few times. I, I think was it 22nd of March, 11 o'clock, Boris Johnson came on live and he said all training facilities, health clubs and gyms have to close with immediate effect. And I can remember being sat on the bar stool looking down the gym, and we just finished our morning classes, and our customers were walking out saying, "Oh, we'll see you in 2 weeks. It's only going to be a little break. Hopefully, everything's going to be okay." My trainers were saying to me, "What's going on?
mm,
What's happening?" And I
yeah,
can remember ringing the landlord um, and saying, "What's the plan?" And they sort of said, "We don't know." Um, Fortunately enough, from the experience that I had of working in Canary Wharf, I had some great connections. So I picked up the phone and I rang three um, investment bankers, wealth management, managing directors, Morgan Stanley, these kind of guys. Three of them independently, they didn't know each other. And I said, "Look, obviously this is happening. What's your scope?" And all three of them independently said, "This isn't like a 2 to 6 week holiday. This is
Right.
a 2 to 3 year pandemic.
Yeah.
This is going to be something that affects the world." And the people who aren't investment bankers or who are looking at this type of thing happening don't know it yet. All
Right.
three independently said, if you've got a cash flow problem, you need to plug the holes. So I took the weekend. I spoke to my family because their response was, "This is something serious." And we were in the middle of Leeds city centre, a 15,000 square foot facility,
Yeah.
and the rent was extremely high. We just spent 5 years building this place up. Uh, so I made the decision to close the gym that weekend. The Monday I rang the landlord. Luckily and fortunately for us, we were at our 5 year break point, so we were able to get out of our lease quite quickly. But
Right.
one of the moving parts that made me make that decision was that I wanted to maintain my name and the brand that we had created. What I was worried about was that if this was a long-term thing, that we would lose all of our cash to rent being in the Leeds City Centre
Yeah.
and not be able to close ourselves down, not professionally, but yeah, professionally
Yeah.
and in the correct manner
Gracefully. Yeah.
and appropriately. Um, so I rang the team, and it was a hard decision. Some of them worked full time for us. Some relied on us for their mortgage, for all their payments, the instructors. But I wanted to do it so that I had cash in the bank. So we closed the gym. We were able to pay back all of the memberships. We were able to pay all the customers their personal training sessions back. We paid anyone that had worked for me over 3 years, got a redundancy package, even if they were self-employed or employed. And then some of the employed staff, we were able to keep them employed for a few months, running some of our online classes. And we ran some online
Right.
classes during COVID to help out the self-employed instructors
Yeah.
well. And I had a lot of backlash from colleagues in the industry. Well, why are you doing this? You're acting so harshly. You're acting, things will be fine. Um, and having watched them go through the 2, 3 year break of having to open, put up air conditioning, put up signs and plastic sheets in between everywhere, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
close
Yeah.
2 weeks later, take the bounce back loan, spend that on rent, and then end up closing 2 years later, I was really happy that I made that
Yeah. Yeah.
decision quite
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
But one of the other moving parts was I knew this would be tough, and I knew a lot of people would, it would affect a lot of people. I knew that if we did it right in the right manner, with the right respect, that we could come back to the city. And that was one of the other moving parties. So during COVID, once that was all closed off and sorted, I then went straight back to work and I started redesigning the launch plan for RYDE. So now, post COVID, we opened up RYDE, which is a boutique fitness studio, predominantly based in the rhythm cycling world, so a spin class, but done to the beat of the music. And it's
Right.
really focused around mental health, community, wellness, and well-being, rather than physical heart rate, physical
Okay. Yeah.
challenges and numbers. We sort of get rid of that and we
Yeah.
bring a more of a community wellness environment, focusing on mental health. Because I knew post-COVID people would need it.
Yeah.
So we opened up the RYDE studio. So we're on East Parade, right in the city centre of Leeds, which is our first studio. And we also do a second class like studio, yoga, bar, Pilates, and like a move class, which is a circuit training. We have a great studio, a great community in Leeds. We opened up in 2023. What year are we now? 2022. So we're 3 years in the Leeds studio. And because we closed down L1 in the manner we did, the day we opened the doors, we had all our customers and clients back. We had the
Brilliant.
staff who wanted to work with us again.
Brilliant.
And it really took off. One of the big things that I didn't anticipate happening was that people needed it even more than they did pre-lockdown.
Yeah.
They needed the training, the exercise, the physical side, just like normal. but they were also craving human interaction,
Yes,
community,
community. Yeah,
socializing.
yeah,
And it really took off to the point where we started doing events outside of the studio with the community that were packed and full. Going into kind of 2022, 2023, work from home was huge. So
yeah,
people weren't interacting. And
yeah,
our classes were full, our community was full, and the events were full. So a year and a half after opening the Leeds studio, we opened up Manchester. So
yeah.
Manchester is on Deansgate.
Brilliant.
It's a bit of a bigger studio, our flagship studio, and it's really taken off there as well. The Leeds and Manchester studios are now the busiest. So we use a third-party software, a bit like Open Table for restaurants. In the
Yep,
fitness world, we have ClassPass.
yeah.
We are the most attended and highest revenue new studios outside of London in the whole of UK. Manchester being number one and Leeds being number two for the studios.
Wow.
And the Manchester studio has now been open for over a year and a half, and we are just about to sign the lease for our Liverpool studio. So and we are moving onwards and upwards through the north of England.
Well done. What a story. What a story! What a progression. I often ask people what are the biggest challenges you faced, and most people reference COVID, but that that's absolutely a real fundamental story of how somebody in your industry and similar to there are three or four other industries where COVID hit so bad and
Mhm.
but as you say, taking that decision and doing it correctly in the way that you should do is a credit to the fact that you've now um, come through that and what level of success. So and you said you're opening third one in Liverpool soon.
Yeah, we're hoping to be open for middle of April.
Brilliant.
We're in Old Haymarket Street, which is just where the train station is, just on the other side of the bus station. So
Yeah,
still quite central.
brilliant. Oh yes, okay, yeah, I'm with you. I know I know where you are. So taking all of that, all of looking back over those experiences, what would you say your biggest learnings from all of that, Carl? What would you say you've learned from going through all of that?
Acting quickly.
Yeah,
Listening to your gut. Your
yeah,
experience and your life experience talks back to you in your own head,
yeah,
and you have to listen to it, especially when it's combined with the experience of others, other
yes,
professionals who know what they're talking about.
yeah, yes,
Taking risk is what all entrepreneurs do, and we're always throwing the dice to see how they land.
yeah,
But there has to be a solid understanding that you have to move with a gut feeling, and sometimes you have to move fast and follow through with those actions. The decisions from other people in the industry that were sort of questioning what I were doing, unfortunately 6, 12, 18 months later,
yeah,
they were closed. And it was really sad to see.
yeah,
And unfortunately, they weren't able to do it in a cash positive position.
yes,
The signs were on the doors, customers didn't get their money back, staff didn't get paid, real hard times.
yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. No, that makes sense, and obviously quite sad. It's interesting actually because I fundamentally believe our gut, that feeling we get, is actually our subconscious. It's the only way our subconscious can talk to us. So
Exactly.
so the brain is processing all this information, like the advice you'd got, and the logical brain will do some processing, but the subconscious is going, I think we should do this. I think we should do that. And it's as you say, if we can get in tune with
Poking
it.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's making us feel something. It can't actually can't communicate with us language wise. So it's giving us something that's saying, look,
Yeah.
this is right, or in some cases, this is wrong. Fascinating. I- so I'm just trying to think through that story because it's just such an amazing story of challenge and coming overcoming adversity. What,
Okay.
so if I'm just trying to think if how you advise somebody, whether it is in your industry or a different industry that was going through the personal side of this, Kyle, because this is like, a lot of certainly what we do in business coaching, although there is systems and processes we help people with, a lot of what we do is mindset wise. And
Yeah.
if what are some of the key facets of, as you said, listening to your gut, but how did you get through that? What were some of the things you were saying to yourself that helped you get through that sort of level of challenge?
A hugely challenging time. I think one thing that I'd recommend when, especially entrepreneurs are going through tough times, is that you can't do it by yourself. You have to be able to lean on
Yes,
people, mentors, business coaches, friends, people who've been there and done it. And for me, it was my three personal training
yes,
customers who had become close friends,
yeah,
who I knew that if I picked the phone up to them, I'd get honest, direct, educated, intelligent advice.
brilliant.
And I was fortunate to be able to call those people. And I know if I needed to call them today, they would answer the phone. So having those people is in place. And people always say, where can you find them and where do you get them from? Because they are, hard to find mentors or business partners. And you have to go put yourself in the room where they are.
Yes,
Uh, Networking events, business get-togethers, the gym, social events, business events where people are on stage talking, and then you have to go put yourself in the room where those people
yeah,
are. They're not just going to come knock on your door. You have to go knock
yeah,
on their door. And then I was also very fortunate to, my now wife was actually she ran the business with me, so I wasn't alone.
yeah,
So I had that conversation of the kind of professional experience and advice and the personal emotional support. So I was
yes.
very lucky to have that, and again, having that is hugely important as well.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. So alongside the people you mentioned already, is anyone else you'd say being business coaches, which for me the coaching part is probably more important than the business knowledge part in many ways. Anyone else you'd like to mention as being a great coach or mentor for you?
Yeah, I've managed to make a very good friend out of my chairman of the business, a gentleman called Richard Flint, very well known in the Leeds and Yorkshire area. He was actually the very first person who walked into the doors at L1. He was CEO at Sky Betting Gaming at the time.
Yes,
And him traveling up and down from London, he was a fay with the boutique fitness world. And he set up a corporate connection with Sky, and they were one of our biggest customers throughout the 5 years of being open.
brilliant.
And he said to me, if you ever think about doing something like this again, let me know. And when COVID happened, I picked up the phone. He said, "Yeah, let me see what you're thinking." And he, was a very busy gentleman himself. He went on from Sky Bet to do much bigger things, serial entrepreneur, but he's also a really good guy. And having that person in place, I might speak to Richard 15, 20 minutes a month.
Yeah,
That is worth hundreds of thousands of pounds.
brilliant.
In a business format or a personal development format, I can go to him and say, I'm thinking about doing this, this, and this. He'll say yes or no, and there'll be a reason why he's saying yes or no. And that yes or no reason will then make me take action in a direction that's probably just saved me 3 months of doing something wrong or
Brilliant.
asking for more money from the investors for making a incorrect decision,
Yeah.
or him saying yes then improves the motion that I was
Yes.
moving forward in the first place.
Yeah, sometimes it is just helpful to have someone say, "Yeah, that feels right." You go back to it just. But I always like the phrase that I use for what we do is being an unreasonable friend in business. It's a friend that cares, but might just look at something from the alternate view, just from a perspective of helping to see if there's
Exactly.
any danger. And whether it's from Richard or any of the other people you mentioned, do you have any favourite quotes or sayings, or Robert Kiyosaki you mentioned? Any favourite quotes or sayings you have about business or success in general?
Yeah, one of my favorite I heard, and I don't know who said it, and it sort of reflects on business as a whole. And I believe if you look at it and take it apart, it's quite a strong saying. It's leaders of followers quit, leaders of leaders stay. And in my mind, what that means is in business, if it's just you doing everything all the time, life's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
You're just bringing people along on the journey, it's always going to be you.
Yes.
And I've learned that at L1, I was a leader of followers. I was
Yeah.
doing everything day to day. It's 5 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. And that didn't allow me to grow. It didn't allow them to grow, and it didn't
Yeah.
allow the business to grow. Whereas with RYDE, I've been able to lead leaders. and implement management and systems that allows me to now spend more time on myself to be better, to be able to coach the managers better, but also has allowed me to grow to 3 studios rather than just the one.
Brilliant.
Uh, and I know we sort of spoke about books. I am a big fan of kind of self-development books, and I'm how old am I now? I'm 38, 38. And for the first 36 years of my life, I hadn't picked a book up and read it
Right.
ever. You know, at
Yeah.
school, I wasn't the A-star student. I was quite a intelligent student, but not
Yes.
an applied student.
Yeah.
So I'd never read a book, had no interest of reading a book. And I was recommended How to Make Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie,
Yeah.
by Richard. And it was the first book that I picked up and read. And I didn't enjoy reading it, but Richard said I need to read it. So I read it.
Great.
And by the time I got to the end of the book, I wanted to pick up the next book.
Brilliant.
Well, okay, if this has taught me this, what can the next book teach me?
Yeah.
So books such as The Compound Effect really allows you to think as an entrepreneur that day one you're going to work like like hell, but you're not going to get paid. And that pay might not come for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But you have to be okay with that mindset that if you work
Yeah.
hard, you continue to get up and grow your business at some point, you will get paid. So yeah, I really like those type of books.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. It's great. I mean, learning. One of the phrases our founders use, which I love, which is, "You can't." Let's get it right. You can't out earn your learning,
Exactly.
if that makes sense. So it's so key to be constant. And
Having a good business book or business self-development book, in the space you can read a book. I know how quick people read a book, a week or a month. You're jumping 10 years into the future if you've got the right book.
uh, absolutely the right book at the right time for the particular thing we're focusing on. One thing I always say to people, one of the key things, and probably Richard was doing this for you, is that a lot of people, even if they are enjoy reading, often read things about things they're good at rather than things they need to improve. And I'd urge anyone watching this particular is think about the thing that we need to improve and learn that
100%.
rather
Especially
than
like most entrepreneur, everyone comes into the business from different places, and the
yes,
entrepreneurial journey can be for anyone, which is the great part of it. But for me, coming into the entrepreneurial, business owner route, my strengths were getting things done,
yeah,
hands-on, active coaching, mentoring, doing the business. My weaknesses were finances.
yeah,
I'm no accountant. So the psychology of money. Great books to make you really understand uh, how to read a P&L, what that actually means, what cash flow means, and how that can save your business because you
yes,
can take as much action as you want and run as fast as you can. Cash flow is a killer.
yeah,
In a business, you can think you're making money because you've got money coming into your bank account. But if you don't understand where cash flow comes into play and how you have to prioritize payments and put systems into place, it's why I think most businesses close after 2 years. It's actual cash flow, not because the business isn't
yeah.
working.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think the great one of the great phrases that I learned very early on was get it right. Revenue for vanity, profit for sanity, but cash flow for reality.
100%.
It's all about the cash because we'll be making it, but if we're not collecting it, then we haven't got
Yeah,
it.
my first kind of executive hire was an FD.
Brilliant, brilliant, absolutely good because it's one of the things that really, unless we are financially biased, it's one thing that most people have a blind spot to. You
Yeah.
know,
No, he regularly tells me off every 24 hours.
well, I mean, if you think about other parts of business, obviously doing what we do, we probably have learned and therefore are good at. Things like marketing and sales, we're sort of both doing that and experiencing that on a day-to-day basis. We are being sold to and marketed to every day, so we can learn from our own experiences. But finance isn't something typically. Obviously, there's some base stuff around our own personal finances, but it is a lot more complex looking at business. So, yeah, not having that level of capability is really key to
And
bring
I really suggest that, especially if people in that kind of growth phase, if you are a company that's opted in for kind of SEIS and EIS, you need to be very careful with that kind of stuff. Having a good legal team is obviously always
Yes.
hugely responsible, but a good FD, and they don't cost the world. You can go get
No,
an experienced FD, MD that has been there, done it, knows how to do what you need, and you could pay them on a daily rate, and that daily rate will
absolutely.
sort you out for the month.
I was going to say fraction. There's obviously the ability, especially with technology like this, to be fractional, to be virtual, to be able to do a few hours here and there rather than need to be somewhere all the, turning up for things. It is really valuable, incredibly. And Carl, I'm keen to know what you've learned about yourself throughout your journey so far.
Um, I think I probably learned that I'm a bit tougher than I give myself credit for. I think the journey I've been through, especially through kind of the military into being self-employed, going through COVID. Yeah, I think I'm a bit stronger than I kind of would have thought I was to keep on getting up and pushing and driving because there's many people around me that keep saying to me, why do you do this? Why do you keep doing this to yourself? When I closed L1 Performance, my mum and dad wanted me to go join the police. They said,
Right.
why can't you just go get a job? Why can't you go and going back to kind of Robert Kiyosaki, that right hand side of the cash flow quadrant is where I want to be. I've
Yeah.
seen being Canary Wharf, being around those
Yes.
people, the lifestyle it can bring you, it's worth it. So I would
Yeah.
rather be unemployed and be safe and be working towards the right hand side than being stuck in the left hand side of the quadrant.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, for anyone that watching that, I think we might mention earlier, but the book's Rich Dad Poor Dad is the book where he talks about, and several other books, obviously, that he talks
Yeah.
about his cash flow content. Really interesting way of looking at things, and also the simple principle which I've like you mentioned earlier, I've certainly come a cropper of many times is the challenge we have as we earn more, we tend to spend more, and therefore have net nothing different
Yeah.
than rather than earn yeah, rather than in yeah, Rich's world, understand what our expenses are. Everything
Yeah.
more than that, save, and ultimately we can become financially free, which is a great book to read.
100%.
Um, look, one of the things we have in Action Coach, Carl, the definition we have of a true business is a commercial profitable enterprise that works without its owners, or
Mhm.
I put can work without its owners because some people love what they do. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think so. Especially in the world that we're in now, where people are buying up SMEs and people are interested in kind of cash flow and putting it all together for EBITDA seems to be a big thing that everyone's looking for to put into a umbrella company to offload or to drive. Um, and if you are the key person, you're still that self-employed person, really. You just create a job for yourself and the business then relies on you and you are the business.
Yes,
And it's something that it's taken me, L1 was 5 years, we've now 4 years, so 8, 9 years of going through the process that I've been through. I've only just started to look at what that looks like now. Only now, 8, 9 years in, I can step away for some time and the business would operate with or without me.
great.
Or yeah, just a phone call for 5 minutes to sort the most
Yeah,
important things out. And it's really tough to get there. And one of the things that sort of really made me look more into that was kind of I watched the is it the franchise movie about McDonald's?
yes. The founder. I think
Where,
it's the founder, is
yeah,
it?
the founder, yeah, where their system, everything is automated, everything is
Yeah,
systematic,
brilliant.
and you can plug and play an individual into McDonald's. They can go and work on the flat, the on the burgers, wash mop the floor onto the till, be a manager, and there's a system. Everything goes into place and everything rolls. And we've tried to implement that into to RYDE, where hopefully there isn't me they have to come to. And it's taken a long
Yeah,
time to get this. One of the books I read was a guy called Dan Martell, big on social media, bigger podcast, and I think it's called Buy Back Your Time.
yeah,
And he implements a system where if you're at the forefront of the business and you're having multiple people answer to you, a simple system, he calls it the 131. So if there's one issue, there has to be three options to resolve the issue, and one needs to come to me as the manager or the CEO. Or so you've got an issue. Before you come to me, I want you to think of three ways to fix
Yeah.
this, and then we'll talk through those three and we'll find one so that
Yeah.
they are creating ways to fix problems with or without you. And then the
Yeah.
other one he sort of teaches is if there's a percentage of revenue or a cost where they can fix it, if it's £50, here's a business card, go fix it, don't talk to me.
Great. Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. It's sometimes it's that just wading through all the unimportant, not non-costly issues,
Yeah.
just to find the ones that yeah. But
Have we messed up with a class? Okay, refund the credits straight away. Don't you don't even need to ask me. Send an email and apologize to the
yeah.
customer.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And putting those systems in place through the kind of manager, assistant manager, front of house allows systems, but also allows people to manage as well.
Yeah.
My managers have got a lady called Leah who runs the lead studio and Emily over in Manchester. They are the manager of the studio. That
Yeah.
they are the captain of the ships.
Yeah.
They
Brilliant.
make decisions. They run everything, and they have autonomy to run those businesses as if they were themselves. With
Brilliant.
me here, if you need me.
Yeah. Wonderful. So looking forward then, Carl, what does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
So, as I'm sure a lot of your listeners are aware, the kind of traditional business model, especially here in the UK, fixed and flexible and flexes around kind of growth within each bricks and mortar studio. So this could be a restaurant, a bar, a coffee shop, or a gym. When you open up your first kind of business, you need to get to profitability as soon as possible so that it pays for itself and stays afloat.
Yes.
When you then start to look at growth, at the moment we're structured with, Leeds being a separate company that's owned by the Topco, open in Manchester, Leeds and Manchester are profitable, and they all sort of clean each other. So those three
Yep.
companies all sorted. We don't need to raise any money.
Yep.
But it also means when you start to grow, you hit the bottom line with your third studio, fourth studio, fifth studio.
Yep.
Once you get to kind of fifth and sixth studio, we're looking at then kind of middle management. So then extra costs come in. But
Yes.
our third and fourth studio hopefully is going to be a real time of growth
Yep.
for the business to allow us to implement kind of systems and structures to, we're not a startup anymore. We are in the SME role,
Yep.
4 years in. It will allow us to grow, HR, allow us to bring in things that the company need to be a real stable business to best facilitate the employed and self-employed people. So our third studio we're really excited about in Liverpool, and then our fourth studio we're on the ground looking Edinburgh,
Brilliant.
Birmingham, Bristol, these kind of cities,
Wonderful.
ready to rock and roll. And it's really interesting kind of journey for myself as well because you know our first studio we raised from four private investors. One of them, Richard, came on board as the chairman. We then raised, SEIS, took all the SEIS up, and then EIS
Yep.
was used. Our second studio, we were able to do a share for share with the Topco, and the investment came into the Topco for the second round. We took on another 10 investors, so we had 14, again, all private. The third round, we then brought in a couple of new people and we had some reinvestment from investors. But that kind of third studio is now where people start to knock on the door, venture capitalists, family wealth. There's a proven strategy, there's a system in place, there's EBITDA that people are happy with. Risk is sort of being managed with the private investors. And we would love to, see some cash given back to those early day investors, where a buyout or a tidy up on the cap table could be an option with some large growth investment. So we're excited. We see many options, VC onto kind of PE money if it gets big enough, and I hope it does. Franchise is always interested.
Yes.
I've
Yep.
I've seen too many fitness industry studios go down the franchise and not get it right. So it
Yeah.
is something that we are focusing on. To be boutique, you have to be able to pull the strings. Franchise is a great, great industry and a great model. We might have to be bigger to facilitate a better ran franchise. The franchises that I've seen in the fitness industry have sort of done pre-third studio, and yeah, I've seen them really struggle with it.
Yeah. If it helps at all, one thing I remember, I mean, my business is actually a franchise business in terms of I'm a franchisee. Um, and our founder, I remember him saying, and this was quite a long time ago, and I was quite surprised, not surprised, but I was really interested. So he said something like most people considered franchise businesses to be 80% systems and 20% relationship with the franchisees, if that makes sense. So it's like, it's all about system. And he said, look, the systems have to be really, really good, but it's actually
Relationship.
80% relationship, 20%
100%.
system.
Yeah.
And it's if we don't have that supportive relationship with franchisees, that's really where the problem is. Oh, obviously they'll find ways of terminating. And I found that really interesting because you sort of, certainly if you think about things like, you say the founder Ray Kroc, it was all about, how quick, how will you flip the
Yeah,
burgers.
I can remember he'd walk into the one of the Miami restaurants and they were selling chicken burgers and he hadn't put that onto the menu yet. And he said, this isn't us. You can't be
Yeah,
doing that. It affects our brand, our name, and our
absolutely.
business.
Absolutely. But if you've got the relationship, then people will go with you. As you say, leaders of leaders. And
Yeah,
it's like bringing people with you on the journey. But that was a real interesting one for me because, as I say, the expectation was for me, well, it was all about systems. Carl, it's
100%.
been fascinating talking to you this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time, and I really, really, appreciate the journey that you've been on so far. And obviously, many, many more stages to go. But for anyone that's watching right now that'd like to get in touch with you or Ride, what would be the best way of doing so?
So on our social media, we're in the 21st century. It's everyone goes to Instagram and social media. It's the platforms for attention. And so RYDE, we're at RYDE 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 Studios on social media, and I'm Kyle JR Harris on my personal account. I'm on LinkedIn with the same name, and I'd love to speak to anybody who is going on this journey because I think it's always useful to have those conversations and give advice.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, look, as I say, thank you so much. It'd be great to swing by another 6, 12 months and just see how the Liverpool one's
Yeah,
going
please, that'd be great.
or what's next. But for now, thank you so much for your time.
Amazing. Thank you much for your time. Cheers, Chris.
Thank you.